There's a day in a woman's life that changes everything. It's not the day someone chooses her. It's the day she stops trying to be chosen. Because as long as you're auditioning for love, you are negotiating your worth. As long as you are trying to be enough, you agree that you may not be. And the shift doesn't happen when someone finally sees your value. It happens when you do. Hi, welcome to Love with Eve. I'm Eve Kyle, relationship recovery coach and a women's empowerment speaker. This channel is for women who are done shrinking, done chasing, and ready to rebuild themselves from inside out. Today, we're talking about the identity shift that rewrites your story in love. The day you stop trying to be chosen, what it takes to get there, and what it actually creates in your life when you do. Let's dive in. Most of the time, chasing doesn't look desperate. It looks hopeful. It looks patient. It looks like explaining yourself better, being more understanding, adjusting your edges so you are easier to receive, trying harder to prove something you shouldn't have to prove. And underneath all of that is this belief: if I just keep pleasing, he will choose me. But here's the truth. When you are trying to be chosen, you are positioning yourself below that decision. You are waiting, you are hoping, you are adjusting, and you are subtly and constantly asking, am I enough? That question shapes everything. It shapes what you tolerate. It shapes how long you stay. It shapes how much of yourself you are willing to set aside to make the situation work. And the painful part is that most women doing this don't even recognize it as chasing, because it feels like loving. It feels like patience. It feels like being a good partner. But there's a difference between loving generously from a full place and performing love from a place of fear that if you stop, you lose them. One is a choice. The other is audition. I want to name something that's often overlooked. Most of us were taught very early that our value was something other people confirmed. A parent's approval, a teacher's praise, a partner's attention, a friend's acceptance. We learned that worth was something granted from outside, and our job was to do whatever it took to earn it. So we became very good at reading rooms, adjusting ourselves, softening our edges, amplifying the parts of us we believed were more acceptable, dimming the parts we're afraid would be too much. And we called it being adaptable, being easy to be around, being low maintenance. It was the constant, exhausting work of auditioning for a role in your own life. And the painful thing about auditioning is this: even when you get the part, you never stop wondering if you earned it. You never fully relax, because approval came from outside, which means it can be taken away from outside. And so the monitoring never stops. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from living this way: the subtle monitoring, the adjusting, the wondering if you are too much or not enough. And most women don't even realize they're doing it. Eventually, there comes a moment you get tired. Not tired of love, but tired of performing, tired of over-explaining, tired of feeling like your worth is depending on someone else's approval. Not because you have stopped caring, not because you have given up, not because you no longer believe you deserve love, but because you realize something that shifts everything. You are not applying for position in someone else's life. You are evaluating whether they align with yours. That one reframe changes your posture, your tone, your standards, your energy, the way you enter a conversation, the way you respond when something doesn't feel right, the length of time you're willing to wait for clarity. Because the woman who's trying to be chosen waits, and the woman who has chosen herself moves toward what aligns and away from what doesn't. There was a season in my life where I didn't realize I was auditioning. I thought I was loving. I thought I was being patient, understanding, generous, the kind of woman who doesn't give up easily. But if I'm being honest, I was waiting to be picked, waiting for clarity, waiting for reassurance, waiting for someone else to confirm what I already knew, but I couldn't fully trust without seeing it from them first. And that's what people-pleasing looks like up close. It doesn't feel like losing yourself in the moment. It feels like being a good partner, a good person, someone who cares. But underneath all that giving was a woman who didn't really know what she needed. What I didn't understand then but see clearly now is that I wasn't just loving those people. I was managing how they saw me. If they could see my value, maybe I could finally believe it too. And that's the trap. Trying to be chosen instead of choosing yourself. So what does it actually look like to choose yourself? Choosing yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It doesn't mean closing your heart or deciding you don't need people. When you stop trying to be chosen, you create real standards because standards are not about controlling someone else. They are about clarity within yourself. And here's the difference that matters. Choosing yourself looks like pausing before you shrink yourself and asking, am I adjusting because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid what happens if I don't? It looks like noticing when you're working harder for someone else's attention than they are for yours, and being willing to name that even when it's uncomfortable. It looks like making decisions based on what aligns with who you are becoming, not based on what will make someone stay. It looks like trusting your own read on the situation, even when someone else is trying to rewrite it. When you know who you are, you don't need to prove it. When you know your value, you don't need to advertise it. When you trust yourself, you stop chasing reassurance from people who are never going to give it to you anyway. Choosing yourself is not a declaration you make once. It's a practice, a daily, sometimes difficult practice of returning to yourself when everything around you is pulling you away. Now let's talk about what this actually creates when you stop trying to be chosen. Something remarkable happens. Your confidence changes. It becomes grounded. Not the kind of confidence that needs an audience or a compliment to stay intact. The kind that is simply there because it's rooted in something internal rather than something someone else is holding for you. And the grounded confidence is magnetic in a way that chasing never is. Your relationships change. Not because you became harder to be with, but because you became impossible to be manipulated. The people who are drawn to your availability, your compliance, your endless suggesting, they lose interest. And the people who are drawn to your true self, your real thoughts, your real edges, your real depth, those people move closer. And perhaps most importantly, you stop feeling like love is something you have to earn. You start feeling like love is something you participate in from a place of fullness rather than need. That shift is everything. Now let's talk about identity, because this is the root of all of this. The woman who is trying to be chosen asks, what do I need to do? The woman who has chosen herself asks, does this align with me? The first woman negotiates. The second evaluates. The first woman waits to be validated. The second validates herself first. That's identity. And identity determines behavior. As long as you identify yourself as someone waiting to be picked, you will unconsciously act in alignment with that role. You will wait longer than you should. You accept less than you deserve. You will explain yourself to people who are never really listening. But the moment you identify as someone who chooses, your decisions change. Your boundaries change. Your relationships change. Because you now have yourself to protect, and you take that seriously. This is what I mean by identity activation. It's not a mindset trick. It's a fundamental shift in how you see yourself, and therefore how you move through the world. You were never meant to compete for your place. You were never meant to shrink for secure love. You were never meant to convince someone to recognize your worth. And here's the truth I want you to sit with. You can't fully receive love you don't believe you deserve. And you cannot believe you deserve it if you keep outsourcing that decision to everyone around you. The day you stop trying to be chosen is not the day you give up on love. It's the day you finally become available for the real thing. Because the real love is the kind that is steady and secure and doesn't require you to perform. That love cannot find you while you're busy adjusting yourself for someone else. It finds you when you are standing still, when you are grounded, when you have stopped asking, am I enough? And has started operating from the certainty that you already are. Self-respect raises the standard without you saying a word. It doesn't announce itself. It simply becomes visible in what you will and won't accept. in how long you will stay, in what you are no longer willing to explain. And if you are watching today and you feel that pull to try harder, to prove more, to explain yourself one more time, pause and ask yourself, am I trying to be chosen or am I choosing? Because one creates anxiety, the other creates peace. One keeps you in motion, adjusting, monitoring, and hoping, and the other allows you to stand still and trust what is meant to align with you will find you. The day you stop trying to be chosen is the day you stop chasing. And the day you stop chasing is the day you stand still long enough for the right things to meet you. Not because you performed, but because you aligned. If this resonated, tell me in the comments, where have you been auditioning instead of evaluating? If this is the kind of conversation you needed today, share this with a woman in your life who needs to hear it too. And if you're ready to stop chasing and start choosing, really choosing from the inside out, feel free to book a complimentary call with me. The link is in the description. I'm Eve. This is Love Forward. I'll see you in the next episode.